I met Ron when we were 16 years old, and my memory of meeting Ron was him walking into a football locker room, and he was a guy who played quarterback and I played receiver, and I thought, I need to know this guy. And so the very first time that I remember meeting Ron was I walked up and introduced myself to him and said, "You're Ron Gregory, I'm Lance Gutteridge, nice to meet you. I hope I'm going to catch a lot of passes from you." And actually it's worked out better than catching passes. It's been a lifelong relationship, and I'm so grateful for him.
One of my fondest and first memories of Mr. Gregory's when I was a jerk 18-year-old kid and my dad said, get a job or get out. And so I called my youth pastor, who was best friends with Ron in high school. And so he hooked me up with a job at Gregory's Plumbing with he and Ed. And I hadn't known Ron at all at that time. And so there were some years getting to know Ron, kind of trying to get to figure out how he ticks and how he works and what to do and what not to do, what you can get away with and what you can't get away with. And he was as patient as Ron could be with me during that time. But probably the fondest memory of Ron is that he has this just innate ability to be where you don't want him to be at any given moment in time. I mean, if you're going to step out to go get a drink at Sonic, that's when he's going to show up to the office. And even a couple months ago, I was talking to Spencer in the warehouse, and I was jokingly talking about Ron calling me and giving me a hard time or something, and literally he was standing right behind me. And that, I mean, like that stuff of movies, and that's what Ron does. But I love that about him. I mean, he's for somebody that has taken so little and created so much, is he somehow finds a way to be in the midst of it all, you know, no matter where he is. And so I respect that about him, and I think that's really amazing.
Ron has a way of kind of showing you yourself in a different light because he sees so much in you versus what you see in yourself. And so when he asked me when I was coming to Oklahoma City, immediately without talking to my wife, I accepted and came on within 2 weeks. It just felt right. You know, and it felt good for someone to see more in myself than what I saw. See more in me than what I saw in myself.
So many moons ago, Mr. Gregory came in the office one day, myself, Alicia, Yvonne. We were just having a good old time like we always do at Air Comfort. You know, it's always a party over here. And we were dancing, and needless to say, we broke out the lawnmower, we broke out the Running Man, and the Cabbage Patch. And Mr. Gregory walked in, we had a Soul Train line going on, and he just walked by, looked out the door, and said, "Keep it up, kids," because he calls us kids. We're not adults, we'll never be adults, we will always be his children. So he called us kids. So here at ACS, we always have a great time, it's always fun. We are always working, keep that in mind, we're always working. But on a serious note, I want to thank you, Mr. Gregory, for all that you've done, not only for myself and my family, but for the state of Oklahoma and the heating and air industry and just everyone that's employed by yourself. So on that note.
Actually, what's my fondest memory of Mr. Gregory? First day I met him, I was across the street and Spencer said, "Hey, go across the street and meet Ron." Spencer didn't tell me that Ron Gregory was the owner. I go over there and I said, "Hi, I'm Freddie, the new plumber." He's like, "Good to meet you. What do you got going on today?"
I'll tell you the first time I met Mr. Gregory, I met him at a 7-Eleven, and he sold me on his company. At that time, he hired me right then. I was working here a day later. I've been here 4.5 years since, and it's the best thing I've ever done in my life.
I'm actually going to tell a funny story. I've worked for you for going on 10 years this month. This happened probably about 8 years ago. As you know, I text you leads every single day. At the time, I'd been dating a guy, and I happened to text you a lead and also text my boyfriend. About 5 minutes after I sent the text, I got a phone call on the landline, and he said, "Good morning, Alicia. How are you doing today? Are you okay today?" I proceeded to tell you, "Yeah, I'm good. How are you?" Then you told me did you mean to send me that text? As I looked down at my phone, I realized that I accidentally sent you a text that meant to go to my boyfriend at the time, which said, you don't effing listen. I'm just so grateful that you have a personality, because you laughed and said, I didn't think it meant to go to me. I hope you have a better day. You know, I'm just so grateful for you. Not only that, but I'm grateful for everything that you do for us, everything that you've done for my family. I wouldn't be able to do the things that I do or have if it wasn't for you. I just want to say thank you.
I remember being 13 years old, and I was playing golf with him and my dad out at Early Wine on hole 6 south, and I hit this terrible 3-wood, and it just like went into the weeds or something, and Ron had just got this brand new set of golf clubs, and he let me try out his 3-wood and said, here, try this. And I hit it, and I just remember smoking it, and I was like, dang, that was so sweet. And he just was like, here, just take the whole thing. And that just kind of what really started my golf career. That was a big impact on my life, and that was a big part of my life. So thank you, Ron.
The story I'd like to tell about Mr. Gregory is actually the first time I actually ever met Mr. Gregory. I got a phone call from the Sports Animal. Their rep for Sports Animal gave me a call and says, hey Jason, Randy McDowell here. I've got a customer of mine that's looking for a spokesman to run some radio commercials, and was interested to see if you would be interested. And I said, sure, I'll look into it. I said, what's the company's name? And he said, well, the guy's name's Ron Gregory. He owns Air Comfort Solutions. It's a heat and air company. And he wants you to run 3 months of radio commercials. And I said, okay. I said, well, let me do some checking. I want to look into the company and see what they're about, and I'll go from there. So a couple days went by, and I called some other heat and air companies to see about the reputation. And after a few days, Randy called me back. And you know how Mr. Gregory, he wants the answer now. And so Randy called me back and said, well, what do you think? And I said, well, I've heard some good reviews on Air Comfort Solutions, so no one said anything about pay or how long it's going to go or anything like that. So he said, well, Mr. Gregory's informed me to tell you that it'll be this and that. And I said, okay. I said, well, give me a day or two. And he said, okay, well, I'll call him back and let him know. And you could tell in his voice that he didn't want to call him back because he didn't have an answer yet. So Randy calls me back about 2 hours later and said, Jason, Mr. Gregory upped the offer. He said that if you would do this, that he would take you to Riverwind Casino and you guys could play blackjack all night, and it's all on him. So that was my first encounter with Mr. Gregory, and since being here, he's been great to work for. He's provided so many opportunities for myself and my family. I couldn't be more thankful to be a part of this company, and more importantly, the friendship and the mentor he is amazing. So Merry Christmas, Mr. Gregory, and Happy New Year.
I enjoy all sports, and I just really got to know Mr. Gregory. And he called me one day, because he always calls and he checks and sees how's everything going. And when he was a direct person at that point, this is years ago when we first moved into this building. And he always check in, and he called in and he said, Deb, I'm going to be out of pocket for about 2 hours. I said, okay, no problem. So if I had any questions, I just have to hold off. Well, about 45 minutes later, I get a phone call, and of course we have caller ID. It comes up Augusta, Georgia. I picked up that phone. I said, Air Comfort Solutions. I said, Deb, how's it going? I said, out of pocket? You're at the Masters Golf Tournament. How'd you know that? I said, caller ID, Augusta, Georgia. And that was pretty much the funniest thing that's ever happened between me and Mr. Gregory.
You know, when I was 11 years old, I was selling oranges on the side of the street. and I see this black Trailblazer pull up. And I see this mountain of a man get out. He's like, "So, what's going on, okay?" And I was like, "I'm selling oranges." And I was just a kid. He said, "If you can sell all these oranges by the end of the day, I'll give you a job." So, I sold those oranges. He gave me a job. Then he gave me another job. At that point in time, I had got to where I was heavy into the gang life. I was on the streets, popping caps, not living right at all. And Ron Gregory calls me and says, "Mr. Minor, it's time to come back to work." So I said, "All right." And he said, "Sounds good." And then I showed up. Not only was I saved from the gang life, I think if I would have, I told myself I wasn't going to do this. I love him. I love him. I love it. So yeah, this interview's over. It's over. I'm out of here. Never mind, I'm tied to him. So, when am I done? Are y'all holding me hostage? So I just have to keep going? Okay, so y'all aren't gonna force me to. I don't show emotion, okay?